Welcome back to Lake Placid in New York State. It's the fourth race in the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. We're going into our second and deciding heat. Martin Haven and John Morgan trackside with you for the final action here from the Lake Placid track this weekend, the first of the North American Trail. As we get into the final heat, we are down to 19 sliders in our top 20. Injury has ruled out Christopher Grothair, but at the top of the order, we have got a battle royal on our hands.
Yeah, Thomas Dukars, the Latvian, who always seems to be hanging around the podium. He started late in the heat and came down with the third best time, and he's been there many times before, but this guy, Sun Bin Young, broke the track record at the start. Massive thighs, and he is really developing into a great slider. Look at his form. This bullet form down the track put him in a position like we didn't think anybody was going to touch him. Look at him, he didn't make a mistake. And he's down, and of course, everything's in memory of Gomer Lloyd, the Korean coach who's passed away. But then Martin Dukars, Superman, comes down the track, and he does what he always does. He just flies faster than anybody else, and he's got a large lead. It's shocking this guy continues to do what he's done, and he's only won the first 3 events of the year. He's won like 47 gold medals in his career, and we might see another one today.
Yeah, we may well do. And Dukars wasn't even perfect on that run. Sun Bin Young then has got a chance to battle himself back into the medal positions and hang on to silver, if not challenge Dukars for the gold. And Matt Antoine, he could end up on the podium here. He's only 1100ths away from a bronze medal. His teammate Annie O'Shea won her first ever World Cup race yesterday in the women's skeleton event on a day when the US swept all 3 golds from all 3 disciplines. Well, final checks going on the sleds, just making sure the setup is exactly right. You're not allowed to change the runners, but you are allowed to change the rock because they're not flat. They're bowed like the bottom of a rocking chair. And if the track is softer than you expected, you can give yourself a slightly bigger contact patch to avoid digging in too much. Limbering up in the car park. This is the glamorous side of ice sliding. Thomas Dukars will go 3rd from last. Brother Martins will be last. 20 sleds made it through into the second heat, but we will not have Christopher Grothair. Barrett Martineau of Canada will go. Not quite sure what the rule is, how late Grothair's withdrawal was before the second heat and why the guy who was 21st and got bumped out, Alexander Auer, doesn't get through, but he doesn't. So John Farrow will go first off the hill. There'll be no Grothair, which means then 19 sliders. And Ander Marambel, Sergei Chudanov and so on will go in reverse order of their first heat performance. Both runs count. Aggregate time will decide our winner. Thomas Dukars, Martins Dukars last year had 3 consecutive 1-2 family results. But Thomas is going to have to overhaul the flying Sun Bin Young to try and make that happen. And Yun will have his eyes fixed on the main prize. Dean Timmings in the background helping compatriot John Farrow with the sled. Timmings didn't make the cut after having to use a borrowed sled in the first heat. And John Farrow, good start from him and a good slide to get himself into his first World Cup second heat of the season.
He's coming off ACL surgery. I mean, he crushed his knee a couple years ago here at Lake Placid training. And so he limped around last year.
A couple of years he's been here. 2 years ago he was racing in a plastic cast. Could barely walk, never mind run.
I think that was a foot injury. Then he tore the issue, but needless to say, he's not the athlete we first saw on tour when he had decent starts. But now he's working his way back up in the field. You know, he's been on the North American circuit, probably knows this track as good as he does on the European tracks. And look at the line.
Good line, good speed in the chicane as well. 115 kilometers an hour, 71.5 miles an hour, head first and accelerating hard. Trying to keep the speed alive through the heart. Scares the wall but doesn't touch it to the line with a 55.75. That's just 700 slower than his first heat, so the track seems to be holding up, at least so far.
Rabbit, first guy down, but boy, this track saw 34 four-mans and some forerunners this morning, of which one of them crashed, and it also just saw 26 skeleton athletes, and the conditions here, I mean, they're coming right down the middle of the track. Yesterday in the women's skeleton race, people weren't that free coming through there. There was a lot of problems because the ice was harder, and it was harder to control. But John, congratulations, you're through and down.
He'll finish no worse than 19th. Ander Marambel made it through into the second heat. Best result of the season for him, 21st place in Winterberg. So this is the first race he's made the cut, and it was a big field as well, 26 athletes. Let's not underestimate how tough it is when you're below the top 10 to make sure you make that cut. His brother there helping with the sled. An encouragement on the right from coach Martin Rettel.
He's also another guy battling some knee injuries now, and contemplated having surgery and decided to postpone it till after the season. And you know, it's
just got to hope that you don't aggravate it with 6 months of hard, strained sprinting.
Well, it's just so difficult to start training all summer, and then you got to get on the ice in October. Then you got to catch the flu from everybody else. None of the athletes could take any over-the-counter medications. So then you got to train. Then you got to travel from point A to point B. They all got flights out of Montreal tomorrow at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning to Park City. Hey,
they aren't the only ones. Some of us are going to be up at 3 in the morning tomorrow.
Well, that's your booking agent problem there for you.
Gap coming down from 310s. It'll be around. Oh, he's behind at the line. 1300s. I was going to say he'll be about 1500s up, but he drops behind.
Lost a little time there at the bottom.
Up. Yeah.
Couldn't see where he lost it. His lines were good. The track is soft. The athletes have the chance here to put their sled where they want it. The track's not dictating to them like we saw in the bobsled races yesterday and the women's skeleton race, which was wild.
Well, he knows it all went away below.
Right here, here's 13. His feet are apart.
Yeah.
Left side of the screen, yeah, this is what happened. Look at that, his foot dragging. You know, this didn't look that bad to us, but obviously it was.
Painful in terms of speed, going down into 17 there as well. But Ander makes the cut.
Yeah, he's happy about that.
Yeah. Sarah Lavrencic there to help out as well.
We're happy he made the cut.
Yeah, always good
nice
to have him around. Represents the sport, represents the country extremely well. Next up is Sergei Chudanov. He was in 17th place off the first heat. And Chudi, experienced enough to know what he's doing. He's only raced here in the World Cup once before. It was last season when the big stars, like this year, didn't come to North America.
He's a better slider than this.
Well, he doesn't know the track well. If he was on a European track he knew better, yeah, he'd be top 10, top 12, and knocked down at the bottom of the top 20.
He's been there 4 or 5 years in a row. The World Championships, I bet you, 2012 and 9. And his problem, though, his nemesis was down at curve 15, 16, 17, 18. He just was out of control, and that's why he's in this position. He puts a good run in here. He could live in the leader's box for 3 or 4 sleds. I hope I don't jinx it.
Would be the first time we've done it this weekend. John Farrow is the current leader.
Look at this half-second lead, and you know, and there
he was 1800s up after the first heat. He's doubled that, tripled.
Now this is where his problems were in the first run.
And again he does
losing some time back. Now watch him right here at the exit. Comes he come through? Yes, he hit the takeout before. Now he's smooth. This is much better. This is what
speed's not as high as Farrow.
Only 2300s.
Yeah, only 500ths of a second faster than Farrow on that run alone. So most of that advantage was from the first heat.
1800ths, only 500ths better in the second run. He was up at one time by 4300ths on the exit of Shady and threw away a quarter of a second down below. It's to an experience. He's the most experienced slider in the back of the field.
Yeah, it's that chicane, isn't it? We see, you know, you get the chicane wrong, it can cost you a quarter of a second.
Watch this. Bang. Hello. And this is 73 miles an hour, and he's trying to get grasp on things. And boy, he had a lot of problems here in the first run. This was not as bad in the second run, but still wasn't what you expect out of the most experienced guy in the back end of the field.
Apart from maybe 2 of the top 3, he's one of the most experienced men in the field, full stop. Hansin Lee for Korea now. Lee 16th fastest starter, 16th at the bottom of the track. Now, he trained fast, but in very different conditions. The Koreans do know this track well. Let's see if Lee can produce something big here. Richard Bromley, 495 getaway. Well, that's 500s quicker than his first start.
He was 14th at Altenburg, really good 11th place in Winterberg, and then he slipped to 20th place in the last race before Christmas in Koenigsegg.
Winterberg, his best ever World Cup result. Sure, here in a track that they know well, the Koreans. He was hoping to do better than he has so far.
But the track, the first day, the races we saw yesterday were unbelievable. The track, the athletes didn't have control of the track. It was violent in all three disciplines.
Speed
Today
is not there. 107 kilometers an hour. John Farrow, 109.
The track is tame compared to what it was yesterday. The athletes are not having any difficult moments. Yesterday it was difficult for everybody.
Well, I don't know what's up with the Bromley sled setup, but he just sagged down the order. Richard Bromley doesn't think that was the greatest run, but I mean, he didn't hit an awful lot. The speed was just dropping off with every meter down the track.
Never had a chance.
No. So Lee, decent exit here. Everybody takes the hit on their left shoulder. Gets it straightened up, not a big skid. And that was the story. Look here at the chicane. He tucks his head, he thinks he's got a good line, and he's right. Straightens up, little toe drag, but these aren't cardinal sins. Just not sure the runner setup was ideal for these conditions.
Yeah,
it's causing too much friction.
Yeah, again, compared to their sliding at 25 below earlier in the week, and now they're sliding in probably
barely below freezing.
Yeah, barely before. It's
air temperature is above, the humidity is higher. Dave Kracheshin now for Canada, 19th fastest starter, drove himself into 15th spot. Grizz had a pretty decent run here.
Big man.
Yes, he is.
Rugby player, teacher.
Great four-man race. Justin Cripps for Canada, taking his first ever four-man World Cup medal with a bronze.
But nobody will remember that in 10 years, but they will remember Kaylee Humphries on an all-female team competing in the four-man race.
Absolutely right. Personal history for Cripps. Huge history, though, for bobsledding and for Kaylee Humphries.
And for women's bobsled generally. Grizz with the helmet, which is awesome.
Third fastest start so far.
Well, with a name like Grizz, he's got to have a helmet painted in Grizz. Look at it.
Exactly right.
He's got my podium finish with one of the best helmets out here. Nice.
Shoots the chicane well, 115 top speed.
Good feet, look at the feet. You're very comfortable right now.
Opening up from 600s ahead.
He gets through this uphill section without touching, barely.
Quarter second.
Wow.
4/10 nearly. That's a massive second run from
43. He's only 300 slower than his first run. That's the Grizz we know.
Yeah, there you go. Now, talk about living in the leader's box. That could move him up another couple of spots.
13th, and 9th in Koenigsegg, so he's back here in uncharted territory.
Yeah.
And look
on ice that he should know better.
Look at that, he was clean there. And here's a little bit of a mistake. Now, exit here of 19, uphill. Watch this, and he just taps this wall a little bit, but he's not hard. There's the finish line.
Good run from Dave Kracheshin of Canada. Next up is Anton Batuev. Kracheshin leads from Chulinov and Farrow.
Track is clear from the finish to start number one.
Martin Haven, John Morgan watching the action trackside at Lake Placid. 14 sleds to go. Anton Batuev of Russia, the first of them. And it's Canada's Dave Kracheshin, who was only 300 slower than Batuev in the first heat, who leads with a good second run. Pressure now on the second of our Russian athletes.
Did pretty good the first heat. Not there, though.
Long steer to try and negate that bump that has plagued the skeleton athletes for 2 days now. Next to those bobsled grooves, they're cut very hard at the end.
We've had 34 four-mans down the track earlier today, and it's warm, so they cut into the ice.
But then they all come out of the grooves as well. You'd think that would sort of wear it a bit smoother, but it's still disrupting the skeleton size.
Here we are. Exit of shady slingshot effect into the labyrinths.
In the red, he's going further behind. 109.1. Grizz was 109.0, so he stopped the rock.
Form though, down to 15. He's starting to bring it back. A good lines down here. He has a small chance of eating into this deficit, but I think it's going to be 10/100ths behind.
Going to be close. You hear his chin piece on the ice. 6/600ths of a second. Grizz stays in the lead. That was close.
His mistake was at the start when he had to really bend to get out of the groove into the take-on. Still, not a bad thing. And Grizz is back up in territory where he's familiar with.
Yeah. So Anton Batuev, Sergei Chudinov, second and third. Dave Krzyzewski leads for Canada.
Now watch how much body lean his feet come out to try and steer away.
He's
got
already
problems.
leading.
Yeah, he knows.
Still throws him sideways.
And that, look at that, he's angled on that slide. Look at his head down here. You can tell this is a veteran slider. And again, the athletes are having no problems with chicane like they had yesterday in the women's competition.
They'll tell you all about it, sharing
great women's competition for Bromley sleds yesterday.
From the 1980 Winter Olympic Games.
And we've got Bromley sleds up at the top of the field again. Now, this is our best placed Russian, Alexander Mutovin. 13th place, which is not what you expect normally from Russia, but the top 3 male sliders, the top 3 female sliders are back in Europe. Mutovin's been sliding Intercontinental Cup, the second tier of competition, and Europa Cup this season.
498 clean on the exit, 494.
Good start.
Yeah, good start, good technique, and see if he can get through the top part of the track without any kind of side friction. And what's he do here? Ooh, hard hit.
His gap over Krzyzewski was 9/100ths of a second from the first heat. He added nearly another 10th of a second at the start. He's 21/100ths up now, but can he hold it? Down to 9/100ths of a second. Speed is not there. This is about runner choice and the setup not suiting the changing conditions.
This is pretty good right there. He's going to lose more time back. As soon as I said pretty good, he tapped the wall trying to sneak out of the...
Speed wasn't there anyway, so he'll be in the red, and he will stay in the red. Look at him paddling away with the feet to try and get the line in the final corner.
So the Grizz moves up a couple more, and the Russian athletes are falling down the board.
Well, Grizz came in chasing 2 Russians. He's overhauled both of them. Next target, Hiro Takahashi of Japan. What did you say Krzyzewski's best result this season was? 9th place in Koenigsegg.
13th in the first 2 races.
And on a flyer, he might just make 9th.
Look at this. He almost snuck through here. Almost snuck through here. And that, he took a chance, tried to get over the takeout. And once you do that, now watch him climb. Now watch him. He's very uncomfortable here on the exit. He starts to work the toes.
Yeah, watch the toes. Watch the toes. He's chopping away at the ice to try and get the line to come back.
So easy for us to criticize sitting here when they're doing 75 miles an hour out there.
Yeah, we're not criticizing, we're just trying to point out where the time is going as we can see it.
Finish to start 1.
Kazimiro Kosi on the left, the most successful ever skeleton competitor, and now leader of the pack for Japan, and his prize pupil, the former baseball player.
13/100ths of a second faster than current leader Dave Krzyzewski from the first heat. These gaps are not big on this track. Somewhere like Eagles, 13/100ths, you're not going to make it back. Here, you are.
Mr. Takahashi, 100 better in the second run than the first run, but that's not good there. That's really took a lot of curve 3, paid the penalty by coming out and tapping the wall hard. Now you could come out of there and just touch the wall, whacking it like that.
Now he could be in the red even before he gets to Sunny, to Shady 2 rather. He was only 700.
There it is, you said it. Red numbers, now the bottom part of the track. He's only 10th back, but he
big
just
skid out of 11.
Just threw out a parachute there.
Yeah. That is like throwing on the brakes.
Those are good lines, but he's already lost the speed. Bullet for him. Takahashi is a good slider. Top 7 in Altenburg last year, but his mistakes were frequent, and the 6th best time of the run. Grizz.
Chris, come on, man, smile.
Grizz is hanging out in that leader's box. We said he could hang out there for a while.
Well, you know, this is the day when actually now he's glad it's not minus 22.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't much fun standing out for any time at all in training.
Anybody hangs out at the leader's box at any temperature, because if you're moving up, you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Here's the big hit. Took too much of the curve, got in there late, bag, and that's when you're trying to allow the sled to accelerate, and from there on, look at this. His toe out. This is down in 11, 12, 13, the labyrinths. He was a little unsure of himself, but Mr. Takahashi, you know, we'll see him the rest of the season.
Yeah. Moving on to Salt Lake City next week. Track workers helping with the sleds. Dave Krecheshin still leads for Canada. We will therefore have a Canadian leader after this next run, because teammate Barrett Martineau is next up on the ice. Bear and Grizz. Grizzly Bear on both helmets. So it is the battle of the Grizzlies. Let's see who comes out on top. Barrett Martineau with the bigger start. Less experienced, though, than his teammate.
15th, 7th, and 12th. Oh, excuse me, 15th, 17th, and 12th. 3 races. But the 12th race, 12th place in the race in Koenigsegg was impressive. It seems now that the former ski jumper is starting to feel comfortable on this little ice, this little tray on ice.
Outstarted his teammate by 700ths in the first heat, by just 2 in the second. So that's not adding much to his advantage.
Good bullet form. Let's watch him on the exit. Down the labyrinth.
Oh,
600s to
he's
play with.
in the red again. He's slower than Grizz. It's going to be Canada 1-2, but I think Krecheshin is going to be in front. He is. And Barrett Martineau might drop behind the Russians. Anton Batuev is only 600s behind Krecheshin.
Needs to be perfect. Can't tap here in the uphill section.
Tries to carry the speed. 700s back. He's 100th behind Anton Batuev. And Dave Krecheshin moves up again, this time at the expense of teammate Barrett Martineau.
So he's now in 11th or 12th place.
Yeah.
No, he's in 10th.
He's 3rd, but with 10 to go, so he will be no worse than 13th.
That's a pretty good run for him, though. He's coming. You know, his improvement from last year. Last year he fought to get in the top 20, and now he's consistently in the top 20 and threatening now. The next step for him is to start to get in the top 10.
Yeah. Last year was a lot of new tracks for Barrett Martineau. This year, a little more familiar. Certainly not as experienced as some of the front runners in the top 10, but he's getting that knowledge.
They are the couple Grizzes. Helmets.
A Bear and a Grizz. So, Krecheshin leads. 10 to go here in Lake Placid. First of them, Matej Gaspari. Now, the man from Cortina having a good run. His best result this season, 10th placed in Koenigsegg, Bavaria, and he could well match that here. His first round advantage over the current leader was 3100ths of a second, and you've got to think that barring a disaster, he will catch and pass the leader. And don't forget, he had that slip at the start in the first heat, didn't he, where his hand missed, and he almost missed the sled as it left the station. Gaspari was 3100ths up after the first heat. He's now 3700ths up, adding to his advantage over Krecheshin.
16th, 15th, and 10th. Last 3 races. I think the Italians have finally found somebody to represent them well in men's skeleton. This guy's come on this year.
Oh, speed is dropping. He's 3/10ths up. That should be enough.
Big lead.
Better speed than Krecheshin through the chicane. Here we go. Now the gap comes back out. Should be 4/10ths at the line.
He's the most impressive surprise this season. 4100s, 55-33. Look at the coaches. I mean,
that's a good run.
The Italians haven't had a lot in the world of men's skeleton, and
second consecutive top 10 finish guaranteed for Matej Gaspari.
That's got to be something pretty positive, and
yes.
they got to be happy with that. Look,
absolutely.
Look, the coach just yelling at him. You know, and it's about a decent start time. You know, he doesn't have the start time. 23rd best start in the first run. For him to be in that position, He's got some talent.
We started 5:07 in the first heat, but don't forget his hand missed the sled.
That's right.
He started 4:99.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
much more like it.
Just think of where he would have been if without that efficient start.
Could well have been top 6. Mattia Gaspari leads with 9 sleds still to come here in Lake Placid. 10 down, 9 to go to decide the 4th race of the BMW IBSF World Cup season. Matthias Guggenberger of Austria, 9th fastest at the start, 9th at the bottom of the track here. Let's see if he can creep up the order. He was only 800ths away from 8th place rookie Mikhail Zakrau.
Well, you know, we talked about it the first run. He's 490 start, that's a couple hundreds better. He just seems like he's finally got some healthy strides, because he was hurt the last couple of years.
Yeah, had a couple of seasons with really chronic back injuries. And that really just knocked back his progress, knocked back his development. Now he's starting, nearly 3 full fallow seasons where he was making no progress at all. Now he's starting to make those strides again, but the gap is coming down over Gaspari.
Big hit there. That's costly.
This is going to be touch and go. 112, it's go. There's no touch in it.
Now the question is, how many spots is he going to fall? Because he looks like he is just in low gear here.
He is in free fall down the leaderboard. 2nd place, 9th place.
Best time of the run. Look at his coach, Mickey Gruber, does not want to look at that. That mistake up at 11:12.
55.99, that's the slowest run for the last 6 competitors. And that drops him from 9th place after the first heat down to 5th with 8 still to go. That's outside the top 12.
Here, watch this. Out of here, he hits hard. Watch this crossover. Right here.
Yep. Late off 12. If that was a bobsleigh, he'd have been on his head. As it was, he just smoked the wall with his shoulder. Leave it in your wake and move on. Rookie Mikhail Zakrau in the first heat had an 8th place run off a 5th fastest start. He's never been to this track before. He had 6 training runs. He's now had a 7th one in competition. This will be his 8th trip down this track that he describes as being in a washing machine.
8th, 8th, and 11th in the first 3 events of this season.
So World Cup top result is a pair of 8th places. He's 8th at the moment, but he was only 1100ths away from Axel Jung. He could move up with a good 2nd run. And don't forget, he's sort of almost doubling his information every time he goes down this track.
Run at number 2, these German sleds
Zakrau in the lead by 2800ths over Mattia Gaspari.
Very fast sleds for the German team. They always pull away down into the lower portions of the track.
4.90 start for him, fastest in the competition so far. Zakrau, ooh, the gap's come right down. 107.8 is not enough. He's going to fall, and Gaspari is going to move up.
To his best finish ever.
Yeah.
6, now the question is, how many spots is Zakrau going to fall? But Gaspari.
Well, Krzyzewski is 4/10 back in 2nd place, so I think that Zakrau will be 2nd at the
hard hit
line.
there. 8th best time of the run.
Mattia, yeah, baby.
Best run, best finish ever for Gaspari.
And stays in the leader's box. And there are, we've said this all weekend, there are 19 turns for the skeleton sliders. That's 19 opportunities to give away speed.
8th, 11th, and probably 12th he's going to finish, or 11th here. No, 10th is the worst he can finish. So it's, you know, Zakrau is improving, but that's that had a lot to do with it. Curve 3, exit.
Well, listen, his first 3 races are on tracks in Germany where he's born and bred, 8th, 8th, and 11th. You might think, okay, that's pretty good. He's never seen this place. He's never been to Lake Placid before, and he's going to be 10th.
Yeah, but he's been in a Washington machine before.
Yeah, there you go. That is a good run from him. Axel Jung of Germany then, 7th after the first heat, 3rd quickest getaway, a 4.82. Now that looked good until you saw just how quick Sunbin Jung can start.
With Trechikov, the other Russian, Jung, and Dukars, this is the great German hope here. And it's a start, if he gets a 4.80 start, and the coaches are telling him, go for it. So 41, 42 start, third best start.
He was only 800ths off the track record. 476. That was 200ths off the old track record.
Coaches said, do it. And he just delivered. So he gets out of 3 okay.
That's insane.
Nice. This is the great German hope. This kid showed some promise last year. And this year so far, early in the season, we've seen him with a 4th, a 2nd, and a 6th.
Tretiakov's start record, by the way, up until today, had survived 9 seasons.
They've smashed it today. How low can they go?
Wow, look at this. A lead of 7/10 of a second over Matthias.
Wow, this could be for a medal. This is unbelievable.
Wow.
6/10.
1:15, good speed.
He had 30 hundredths on Kaspari. Now he's got 65. So 35 hundredths. Hey, Jens, be happy there.
Yeah.
Your young slider just delivered the goods at the start and all the way down the track. This young German, this is the German hope right here in Skeleton, which they have not done as well in men's skeleton as they have in the other sliding disciplines.
Yeah. So Young, always relaxed and fun to chat to.
Look at the technique. Watch the crossover of the hands. Watch him get on with precision. Watch him escape the grooves with no feet coming out.
And do you know why? Because he's got all his weight on the runners. He's got his shoulder down. He's not bracing himself for a skid.
Look at his head cut shady. Nice steering. Little bounce on the exit. Great form, great technique, great run.
And great reception from the appreciative and knowledgeable crowd here in Lake Placid. Lots of the slides have been saying that this year. This is a great place to come and slide because the track love, the fans love their sliding. Tom Parsons of Great Britain, 6th after the first heat, off a 491 start. 4/10 out of the medals.
9th, 7th, and 14th in 3 races.
Now the question is, can he stay in front of Axel Jung? Jung had a great run, and again Parsons lying flat on his sled, and that no problem with the escape from that groove. I think when you lift your shoulder and brace yourself for the steer, you cause the skid.
He only went 100th better. Young went 600ths better, and that was a real difficult line out of curve 3. So now it's game on. He's 1800ths back, and Young was perfect. It's going to be difficult for Don Parsons to stay in his place.
What can a Bromley athlete find down this track? 1800ths back. 108.1 was the speed for Jung, 107.6 for Parsons. He's going to stay behind.
Can't see him overcoming here. Now he just wants to stay in place.
No, he's going to drop.
Oh, he's going to be close to.
There's a lot of clear air between Axel Jung and Mattia Gaspari. 6500ths, and Don Parsons will be in there somewhere.
Yeah,
5400ths back. Half a second he lost, and more to Axel Jung. He was a 10th up, and he comes in 5400ths behind him, so he lost 6400ths of a second.
Still might be his best finish.
Apart from, well, this season, yeah, but he had that bronze medal in Calgary to kick off last season.
No, this is the worst.
2 years ago.
Worst is his best finish this season. He'll be 7th, no worse than 7th, and that's what he's had earlier in the season. So look at him come out of the grooves, very comfortable.
Yeah.
Then here, the 6'3" guy looks very comfortable. No spray. That is clean. Again, the chicane is very forgiving. Very forgiving here.
Slight worry is that he's on a Bromley and he was losing speed down the hill.
Another athlete.
Sunbin Jung coming up will be on a Bromley. Now then, big story yesterday. All 3 races won by US athletes. Today, Kyle Brown and Matt Antoine could shoot for medals for the USA as well.
Okay, he had a 91 in the first run, and his coach is, you better hump it, man, get an 88.
Well, Brown making his first World Cup start of the season.
Boy, you see other teams, Young went 600s better.
Well, Young went 76 at the start compared to 95.
But Kyle went 400s worse in the second run. You should at least be consistent. Hit the number you had the first run, at least, or improve.
Maybe he's feeling the pressure being in the top 5 in a World Cup race. This is uncharted territory for Kyle Brown.
Yeah, that was his best finish ever in a heat. I don't think he's ever had a 15th he had trouble making the cut last year when he was out on tour. Obviously,
only 600s behind. He's brought the gap right back down. He could take the lead away from Axel Jung here.
900s. Whoa, he's got some problems there though, but he knows the track at the bottom. If there's anybody can find it, it's an American on their home track here.
Last couple of corners will decide it. Will he be in front or behind? Oh my goodness, a massive margin of Axel Jung.
Still great finish. Kyle Brown,
Top
sixth
six.
place.
Yep.
Worst he could finish is sixth. Congratulations to him for, this is a memory that,
Well,
you know.
he's disappointed now, but this is the best finish of his career. Saw Jacqueline Narracott up at the top. She was in, what, fourth place in the first heat yesterday, slipped down to sixth. Still the best finish of her career. You got to take these positives.
Happen here at the start because he went 400s worse compared to Axel Jung, who went 600s better.
Well, we're talking hundreds of a second, aren't we? It's a tiny margin.
And 13, now he comes down the middle. Look at him put his head down. A lot of confidence here.
Yep.
Looks like he's going to get through, but at the last moment.
Little bit of a skid, but it was in the heart somewhere. The speed went away.
Boy, he went from 9 to 4,300.
But hey, welcome back to the World Cup. That's a great run. Axel Jung, Kyle Brown, Don Parsons leading with 4 to go.
Come on. It's all yours, Matt. Let's go. Win it here. Come on, win it here.
Teammate Annie O'Shea won the women's skeleton race yesterday. Matt Antoine was among the first to congratulate her. Could he make it into the medals of the track where he has claimed World Cup victory before? This would turn his season around, John Morgan, because he's had such a tough time after training and losing speed all summer long.
Yeah, he went 5:04, then a 4:99, so he did go 400s, 500s better. And this guy used to have one of the top starts in the world, and then different radical training techniques this year. He tried to put himself in a different frame of mind at the start, and it didn't work. So now he's back to his old technique, and boy, he had a disastrous first 3 weeks of the season. He could redeem himself here.
He's in the red, but top speed, 109.1.
Bottom part of the track.
1100s, he is coming, inching back towards the leader. Axel Jung still has the advantage. Matt Antoine chasing him down.
Magic lines he's going to need here to have a chance.
Will he be first or will he be behind?
Oh.
He's behind by 1400s. Still going to be a top 6 finish.
He got beat by Axel Jung at the start.
Yeah.
Axel Jung at a 76, he had a 90. He's 1400s behind at the start alone and only 14 at the bottom. But hey, Matt Antoine, worst he can do is 5th place.
Yeah.
That's a great way to start 2016, Matt.
Best he's had this season is 9th.
Yeah. Watch the technique. This is a ton of a tall athlete, 6'3", 6'4" guy.
Yep.
On the sled. How does he get out of here? A little bit of energy.
bit of a bump.
Does he get up high and dive out? Ooh, yeah. Does he get on the left side? Boy, this was pretty good.
Well,
It's
again,
hard
you
to
know,
critique that. That's no
runner
spray.
set up on this soft ice may just have had something to do with it. Looks like Axel Jung hit the sweet spot for his sled and set up, and that may not have done. There's Annie O'Shea, just you saw the back of her head. There's Jung still leading with 3 to go. Axel Jung from 7th. Could he take a medal? I think he might need to be handed one. Thomas Ducours doesn't like giving positions away. 3rd after the first heat, he was over 4 tenths. In fact, he was 5 tenths exactly ahead of Axel Jung.
Good start. Great start. Consistent. Boy, the Ducours brothers, you look at them, you don't think that they're rocket starters, but even Thomas at 6'3" has always had a top 5 start, and that's why he's always had a lot of top 5 finishes, mostly podiums. Not as successful as his younger brother, but the Ducours brothers have done something for Latvian sliding. Our Facebook and Twitter and the amount of stuff that comes out of
Here we
Latvia.
go, 110 kilometers an hour, the fastest sled we've seen so far.
He is like a video game at the moment. He's right down. Look at the form. He is
7 tenths he leads by, half a second from the first heat. He's added nearly another quarter second to his lead, and at the line he'll have given a little away, but not enough. He
There's a
will be in the medals
bronze medal.
first time this year.
Thomas Ducours starts the 2016 season with a bronze here in Lake Placid, a place he's done very good before. I think they went 1-2 here last year.
First 3 races of the season, or certainly 3 races last season, they went 1-2. I think you're right, because Sunbin Jung was in the silver medal position after the first heat. He was disqualified because he'd left the blocks before the green light that cleared him to start had gone on.
Yes, the Latvian fan club is every place. Look, he's on the left side of our screen. Everybody else is on the other side.
Yeah.
Watch the hand crossover. Tall guys, they have to take a different angle and approach to get on the sled, and he does it successfully. He's got one of the top 4 or 5 starts.
Yeah, he's a southpaw, so he's got his left hand on the handle, and as you say, that's very uncommon.
3rd start he had in the first heat.
Now then, what about Iron Man? What can he do? Last year, should have medaled on this track, but for a mix-up at the start. Richard Bromley will make sure that that does not happen. Sun Bin Young now trying for his first ever World Cup win.
The thighs, the quads on this guy. 470 again. He ties his own start record. And watch his form. And how old is the guy? 21 years old.
He was 11 when Alexander Tretyakov set the start record that he's just broken. That brings it home for how long it's been.
Boy, Korea could put a lot of hopes on this guy to bring home a gold medal in a couple years from now.
Look at his form. The only difference between Martin Stucours and Sun Bin Young is that his
head's up a little bit more.
His shoulders and his head are up a little bit more.
And he's also a little thicker than Stucours.
1:15.5.
Well, this is for a silver medal at least. What a way to...
3,500 ahead of Thomas Stucours, but the gap is coming down.
3,700. What a way. There it is for Gomer. Rest in peace. Tough week for the Koreans, and this is a great way. Another medal for Korea. They did it in 2-man bobsled.
Yep.
Question is, can Young win the gold? Yesterday we had a chance for the gold of the 2-man, just fell short.
He broke the track record and tied it with both starts.
How's the form there, Martin? Look at his head bouncing.
Just look at him.
I mean, he's a big man, too. He's big in the quads. Looks a little bit like a running back.
Combined time for the Korean
Look at those
slider
quads.
of
Ball in hand, he's going to take a lot of stopping, isn't he?
I bet he does a few squats.
For the BMW
So, our
IBSF
World Cup leaders yellow vest, the man who has won all 3 races so far this season, Martin Stucours of Latvia.
Most tracks, this would be a victory lap. On this track, not.
Not so much. Sun Bin Young has thrown down a stiff gauntlet. 2200s was the lead from the first heat for Martins. Last sled here this weekend in Lake Placid. Again, left-handed pusher.
With his brother, the same type of groove technique. Martins, you know, he only posts the 2nd best start time, 4:74. He's got an 1800s lead. That might drop maybe to 1600s the next clock, but then it'll be game on.
Well, this is a battle, make no mistake about it. He's not cruising to victory. He is fighting everything he knows.
He's already flying away. He has another gear that no one else has. Look at the rocket form. The guy has been, we call him Superman. I mean, why? I mean, he's so consistent.
2800s pulling away now from Sun Bin Young. 109.4, quicker than the Korean.
Has his foot come down yet? As we've just did.
16.3. Fastest speed we've seen all weekend through there.
Video game. She just makes it look so easy. I don't know if anybody's ever dominated sliding sports like he has. He wins going away. Memory for Gordon, or for Gomer by Sun Bin Young, who captures the silver, but Martin Stucours wins again. Look how much he wins by.
Yep.
This is a sport of hundreds of seconds and ties. He wins again by 48 hundredths of a second.
3rd place, 85 hundredths back. 4th place, 1.49 seconds back.
And will you ever find a more humble athlete than this guy?
Well, one of the athletes yesterday, or day before, final day of training, posted footage of Martin Stucours in the changing room between his 2 training runs, videoing the monitor there on an iPad for Ronald Arderset of Switzerland. That's the kind of guy he is. He takes time out between his runs to video somebody else's runs for him. And he would do it for everybody, win, lose or draw, whether they're a threat or not, because he's that kind of a man. You're absolutely right. Humble in victory and defeat. And defeat doesn't come around too often. It's the wind blowing the snow off the roof.
I thought it was a champagne. I thought they were throwing some champagne at him.
That brings the smile out. Yeah, just as well it was snow and not ice.
Well, he does everything right. He has the second best starts. No one could drive a sled like him. Probably knows more about the equipment than anybody. Look at his form. Everything is forward, even his head bouncing. He's just Superman, perfect.
Astonishing ability to just breathe the sled down the ice without losing any time. Look at that, his head tucked
down,
chin
forward.
Under the sled almost.
So Superman wins, Iron Man second, and we only have the Russian rocket that wasn't here this weekend. Would have been probably another little interesting medal.
Well, really good-looking medal table as well for the USA. 3 wins yesterday. Steve Holcomb and Nick Cunningham in the 4-man pulling themselves up the world rankings. And here, 5th and 6th for Matt Antoine and Kyle Brown's best ever World Cup result in 6th spot ahead of Don Parsons and Mattia Gaspari.
Gaspari was really good.
And Mikhail Zakrow getting their best results.
The Grizz, look at the Grizz.
10th position. It's a day of positives for a lot of that leaderboard. John Farrow, 17th. Anna Marambell, his first cut of the season in 18th position. Not sure what's up with Christopher Grohair after the first heat. Hopefully just a muscle strain. And we will see him hopefully in a week's time racing in Salt Lake City. So Martins Ducours does it once more. And Alexander Tretyakov's decade-old record disappears. Matt Antoine, the track record still exists. He set that in US trials in March 2015. He still holds the track record. And down there at the finish area, that's where the medal presentations, or down below the finish area, below the old track, that's where the medal presentations will be before everybody packs up sleds and clothing and heads to Salt Lake City. So the 1980 Olympic venue, followed by the 2002 Olympic venue at Park City, Utah. Thomas Ducours on the podium for the first time with a bronze medal. He's had a 5th, a 6th, a 4th, now a 3rd. So finally he gets in amongst the medals. And Axel Jung in 4th position. He's had 2 4ths, a 6th, and a silver medal in Winterberg. He was the closest man to Martins Ducours in the Hochsauerland in our 2nd race of the season. Track workers battening down the hatches. Looks like might be a stormy evening tonight. Wind has picked up during the day, and perhaps a forecast of a little bit of snow, which will make the trip back to Montreal a touch entertaining in the wee small hours. Action here has seen lots of positives for US sliding. You come back home to your home track and you hope to do well. The pressure of expectation can often be very severe indeed. Annie O'Shea may not have expected anything, but certainly should have hoped to do well. And to come away with her first ever win in women's skeleton, quite remarkable. Steve Holcomb winning for the first time in 2 years in the men's 2-man competition. And the women's bobsleigh also falling to the USA. Jamie Grubel-Poser and Sherelle Garrett claiming victory. But here, Martins Ducours has the World Cup lead, undefeated so far. 4 straight wins ahead of Axel Jung. Thomas Ducours moves up to 3rd, Jung up to 2nd, as the absent Alexander Tretyakov drops to 5th. And we don't think that he will be in Park City or in Whistler either, so he will plunge down the order. Those are the World Cup rankings after 4 of our 8 World Cup races, but the rankings after 7 will decide where you start in the World Championships, because the final race of the year is after the Worlds in Eagles. We head back to Bavaria. Martins Ducours may well go into the World Championships in Eagles undefeated, but not for lack of trying from Sunbin Jung, a career. A great second run, adding to a great first run for Ducours. He ended up with not a 22 hundredths of a second victory, but a 48 hundredths of a second victory here in Lake Placid. Now, whether it's a driver's track, a glider's track, a starter's track, doesn't seem to make much difference. Martins Ducours has them all pretty well figured out.
He's on his own little planet. No one else can touch him.
Thomas Ducos on the right receives his flowers for the bronze medal. Silver medal for Sun Min-hyun of Korea. And he has got a Goma sticker on his helmet for Malcolm Lloyd, who we lost just into the new year. And we have heard from all the athletes, the coaches, everyone around the sliding fraternity and much further abroad, their thoughts on the passing of Goma. We will miss him greatly. Hopefully you won't miss us next week when we return in Park City, Utah. Until then, from Lake Placid, from everybody here, for John Morgan and the whole IBSF TV crew, thank you for joining us. We'll see you in Utah. Goodbye from Lake Placid.